The Blur in the Corner of Your Eye by Sarah Pinsker. A writing retreat for a mystery writer requires isolation and maybe a neighbor or two that no one will report missing. It was a nice enough cabin, if Xana ignored the dead wasps. Their bodies were in the bedroom all over the quilt and floor, so she'd sleep in the living room, thank you, until they ascertained whether there was a live wasp problem as well as a dead one. Now, she ignored the wasps. Well, it was quite lovely. But then she'd have to ignore the tiny dead mouse and the ominously large trap in the kitchen, too. If they swept the mouse and the trap into one of the black trash bags she found under the sink and ignored the bulk of the rat traps and ignored the bulk rat poisons and celebrated the wasp spray, well, then everything was good. Well, hello, Caledonia. The Caledonia? Now, the bucket in the main room's corner held a few inches of brackish water. The discolored spot above it was shaped like a long-tailed comet and probably wouldn't present a problem. Well, unless it rained. An astringent lemon-scented cleaner just about covered the delicate undertones of mildew that penetrated the walls. "This place sucks," said Shar. Shar, Xana's childhood friend, her assistant of who knew how many years, who had always been impervious to magical thinking, Shar, who was right. You booked it," Xana pointed out. "Well, these aren't usually the things they list under amenities. You said find someplace cheap and remote with no Wi-Fi." True enough. Cheap, because Xana was between royalty checks. Remote, because she couldn't have any distractions if she was going to finish this book on deadline. No Wi-Fi, ditto. All she needed was power, since her laptop battery no longer held a charge. She smiled. "Oh, it's perfect. I'll push that little table under the window. The view is what counts anyway." Shar returned her smile. "Whew, okay, you get settled and I'll see what I can do about the wildlife." That worked. Xana went out to the car for her bag. It didn't roll well in the dirt, and she let it bang on the 3 steps to the porch rather than bother to lift it. She paused to appreciate the view. Below her, the mountainside spread in a dappled blanket of red and gold. There were other houses along the road. They'd stopped at the owners on the way past to get the keys, but none were visible from here, which was just perfect. She parked her bag inside the door. No point in moving it further until she knew which room she'd be sleeping in. The couch was more of a day bed, so she'd be fine with that option. The small writing table, she already thought of it as a writing table, looked solid, old. She felt the years in it. The chair looked a little hard for her taste, but she'd brought a cushion and lumbar support for that contingency. This was not her first rodeo or her first cabin, and these were not her first wasps or her first mice. If she'd wanted something less rustic, she would have said so, and Shar would have booked posh retreat rather than wasp hotel. This was what she needed. No distractions, no comforts, just a desk and a chair and a window. Out and back again for the milk crate of research books, Shar found a broom to sweep away the dead wasps. She'd already disappeared the mouse. Xana didn't know what she'd done to deserve an assistant who disposed of dead things for her. The fridge smelled okay. A small blessing. There was nothing in it but an open box of baking soda. "Make me a list. I'll go shopping for you while you write this afternoon." Shar stood in the doorway, tying off a trash bag. "Is there a microwave?" "Well, I saw one somewhere. Hang on." Xana stood aside and let Shar rummage in the cabinets. She pulled out a drip coffee maker from a drawer and a pack of filters. Shar left the kitchen, returned a minute later with a small microwave. It was in the broom closet. They both had to stand sideways for Shar to put the microwave on the counter. She smelled like cumin. Never Xana's favorite scent. Xana rummaged in the drawers till she found a torn envelope. She wrote a list on the back, all the easy meals she could make without taking too much time away from her writing. Microwave dinners, mac and cheese, salad kits, eggs, cereal. "Right then, back in a few hours," Shar said. They could have stopped at the grocery store on the way in, but Xana knew this was Shar's way of giving her a head start on her work. There was nothing for her to do now but write. Okay, or hike or read, but those were reward activities. and she had not done anything yet to deserve a reward. More importantly, there was no cell service, no internet, no television. The rental car spit gravel as it backed onto the road, and she was alone. Xana turned the milk crate of books on its side on the table so the spines faced outwards. Birds of West Virginia, trees of West Virginia wildlife, railroad towns, coal country. She'd done all her research at home in New York, all her character building, all her outlining. But when Shar suggested that she actually come here to do the drafting, well, it felt perfect somehow, like something she should have thought of herself. She plugged her computer in and sat down to write. Shar returned with 4 grocery bags just as Xana started to get hungry. You didn't put coffee on the tea or tea on the list. I figured they were both givens. Oh, bless you, said Xana, standing to stretch and help with the bags. The kitchen wasn't big enough for them both to be in there, but if Xana didn't unpack, and she wouldn't know what had been purchased or where to find it. Shar still smelled like cumin, overwhelming in the tight quarters. Inspiration to put everything away quickly. So, how's it going? Shar knew well enough to never ask in terms of word count. Instead, a generic, how's it going, that Xana could answer specifically if she'd written or vaguely if she'd gotten stuck. Well, I got through the first chapter, Xana said. No need to hide behind euphemisms today. Chapter 1 was always the easiest anyway. Reintroduce Jean Denier, reluctant detective. Find an excuse to get her to where she needed to be. Nice, Xana. Do you want me to make you some dinner before I leave you alone? Nah, I'm going to have a snack now, and I'm going to write a little more. I'll probably just graze tonight. Xana held up a pre-mixed chef salad in a plastic clamshell. You can go check into wherever you're staying. Where are you staying, Shar? A motel at the foot of the mountain. It's dirt cheap this late in the fall, and this isn't exactly a tourist town. Are you sure you don't want to stay here with me? You can have the bedroom. I'll take the couch. Like you were going to sleep in a bedroom full of wasps anyway? No, thank you. I'm good. I don't want to disturb you. Oh, fine then. How can I reach you? I don't have a single bar of reception up here. I'll check on you first thing in the morning, Xana, or I can check if there's a landline phone hidden here somewhere. Nah, it'll be okay. Maybe not first thing, though, huh? If I get on a roll tonight, I'm sleeping late tomorrow. Check. How's 10? That'd be perfect. Anything else I can do for you? Or should I get out so you and Jean can get reacquainted? Xana grinned in appreciation. The cabin had a good writing feel. She actually made it halfway through chapter 2 before stopping to eat the salad. After that, she put her sheets on the couch and pulled a moth-eaten blanket from the bedroom closet and curled up to read Railroad Towns. It was full of useful information about West Virginia, but the combination of long drive and writing had exhausted her, and she fell asleep before 10. She woke once for no reason at all, and then again to a scuttling sound. That probably meant the dead mouse had friends. She woke at 6 a.m. without an alarm. The electric baseboard heater under the window had kept the couch warm enough, but she could tell that outside her blanket the mountain morning held a chill. She'd make coffee and breakfast and get working. She flicked on the lamp. Her throat felt scratchy, her chest sore like she'd been coughing, and the floorboards shot cold through her socks as she padded into the kitchen. Shar had left the coffee and filters next to the coffee machine, so she didn't have to search for anything before she had coffee. She didn't know what she'd ever done to deserve Shar. She hadn't even known she needed an assistant until her childhood friend had suggested it, and now she couldn't imagine life without her. It wasn't that she was unable to do the stuff Shar did, other than driving, just that having someone else shop and correspond and plan travel freed her to concentrate on her books, on her writing. Shar had always been there for her, but formalizing the relationship had actually helped it. She'd written 40-something novels now, and they'd all been dreams to write, almost literally. Research was still a present brain puzzle, outlining a necessary torture, but the books themselves had gotten so much easier over the years. A quiet cabin, a desk in front of a window, no distractions. She plugged in the coffee maker. While it gurgled, she dumped an instant oatmeal packet into a bowl from the cabinet, added some water, and stuck it in the microwave. When she hit start, there was a pop, and the power went out. The fridge still hummed, but the cabin had otherwise gone dark and quiet. Was the whole place wired on one circuit except the fridge? That meant no power for a computer either, and no power for the baseboard heater. Why did this kind of thing always happen before coffee? She checked all the closets and cabinets for a breaker box, but she couldn't find one, which meant it was outside. 2 shoes and a jacket later, she stood behind the cabin, swearing to herself. Crawl space. Why did it always have to be a crawl space? She didn't quite remember what freaked her out in a crawl space when she was a kid, but it did, and she still hated them. Anything might be in there. A baseball bat stood propped against the wall beside the tiny door. It had "Snake Stick" written on it in blue Sharpie. Whoever had labeled it had also drawn a crude cartoon demonstrating its utility. Swing 'em away, don't kill 'em. No bloodstains on the bat. She could wait for Shar, but she'd lose hours, and her head was already complaining about the lack of caffeine. Better to do it herself. The half-sized door creaked when she squeezed the latch and swung it open. She waved this snake stick in front of her to clear cobwebs and wake any snakes snoozing inside. When nothing moved, she dug in her jacket pocket and pulled out her phone. It was useless for calls out here. You're lucky you get any bars in West Virginia, let alone GPS. It was useless, but the flashlight still came in handy. She swept it around the space, which looked mostly empty. No use delaying. She crouched and stepped inside. The ceiling was a little higher than she expected, the floor a little lower, but she could stand if she stooped. Something crunched like paper under her feet, and she swung the light down to find a snake skin, almost 3 feet long. She shuddered. The electrical box was beside the door, but it turned out to use fuses, not breakers. Another pan of the space showed a pile of 2x4s, but nothing else useful. Mystery writer brain declared it a good place to hide bodies, but little obvious. You don't want to dig up the dirt floor and bury them, or the odor would rise through the floorboards. Pile the lumber back of the spot you disturbed. All important tips to know. Back to the cabin. Wishing she'd worn a hat, dusting cobwebs from her hair, she went through all the drawers and closets, this time looking for a fuse, a hammer, and a box of nails, more rat traps, mouse poison, cubes, wasp spray, garbage bags, dish soap, sponges. No fuses. Also, no matches or candles, which would also have been useful. In the top kitchen drawer, a yellowed paper brochure for rusticcabins.biz, complete with a grainy picture and phone number. Not that the phone number did any good here. How far had that owner's house been when they passed it? Maybe a mile or two? Well, Zena could hike down and knock on the door. It would still be early, but not unreasonable, given the inconvenience of no power. There should have been a warning not to use multiple appliances at once, or maybe that explained the microwave being stashed in the broom closet in the first place. Nuts. She stuffed her hair under a hat, wrote a note explaining where she'd gone in case Shar arrived before Xana got back, put her computer in her backpack since she didn't trust the flimsy lock on the door, and headed down the mountain. Down was steep, made trickier by the loose gravel which skittered out from under her feet. She fell once, windmilling all her limbs to prevent the inevitable twisting to keep from landing on her computer or on her tailbone. She wound up on her left hip and elbow. The elbow got the worst of it, skinned and begraveled. After that, she took it even slower, picking pebbles from her arm as she went. If she walked with small steps, the slope from one foot to the other was negligible. If she put her full weight in each foot, penguin style, she exerted sideways motion instead of downward. Jean Denier would appreciate it. The character was a retired physics professor living in an RV which she parked in any given town just long enough to help solve whatever murder transpired through physics and common sense. When Xana reached the first driveway, she realized she didn't know the house number. What she had noticed about the house waiting for Shar to collect the keys. She closed her eyes. The owner's house was larger than her cabin, larger than this one. A steep driveway featuring a rock Shar had been afraid to drive over with the rental car. Navy blue SUV with West Virginia plates and one of those WV stickers that looked like Wonder Woman logo. A wind chime with wooden, what did you call them? Those wooden knocker thingies. She'd have to look up the word for that. Not this driveway, nor the next, but the third one had the right look. A blue SUV, wind chime, less rental cabin-like, more home-like. Where did the difference lie in that? Something to do with the decor, maybe. Baskets of orange bombs hanging from hooks on either side of the porch steps. The porch ran the entire front of the house, with the dormant rose beds below it, trimmed for low winter. The soil was weeded and neat, except for some animal tracks. See, Allie knew. She glanced at her phone for the time. 7:33 a.m. Well, probably still too early to knock on a door under normal circumstances, but she wouldn't have thought twice about phoning a rental office to make this complaint. No coffee, no heat, no electricity, possibly no shower, depending on the type of water heater. A landlord should expect tenants to come knocking under those conditions. The front door stood open, as did the screen, which hopefully meant the owner was awake. Zena stepped onto the porch and knocked on the doorframe. The mat was turquoise with a picture of a llama on it. Meow. Hello? She realized she didn't know the owner's name. Hello, she called again when nobody answered. She stuck her head in the door. There was a grid of key rings on the hooks to the right, all neatly labeled with the cabin addresses, which Mystery Writer Brain pointed out was an invitation to robbery. Below the grid, a mat with 2 muddy boots. Beside it, 4 coat hooks, all holding jackets in hunter's camo. The owner had been wearing one of those when Shar had knocked the day before. That was the only glimpse of him she'd had from the car. She yelled one more time, "Hello!" And then she turned to look where someone might have wandered to and left their door open. Well, this was far enough off the beaten path that people might leave their doors unlocked, but for someone with such a fastidious entrance to leave the screen open too struck her as odd. It was only when she walked a few steps left along the porch that she saw the foot. A bare foot, toes up, just visible on the SUV's far side. Hello? Hello? She said again, walking around the vehicle's massive front grille. He was not going to hello back. A middle-aged white guy lay face up, one knee crooked like he had tripped backing away from someone or something. His head rested on a rock, though rested was an odd word. The rock was drenched in blood. His expression was the worst part. He looked terrified. Eyes and mouth open, corners of his mouth cracked. She stooped to press 2 fingers to his wrist. No pulse. His skin was cooler than hers. There was gravel on his right hand, but no blood. He'd never even touched the back of his head, so he must have died instantly. He wore sweatpants with a bloody tear at the crooked knee and another small hole in the seam by the crotch. No shirt, no socks, no shoes. That tattoo above his right nipple said, "Breathe." In reverse, mirror script. A tattoo for his own benefit, not others. The knee exposed by the rip was pitted with driveway gravel, as were the soles of his feet, but they were soft-looking feet for what she imagined was an outdoorsy guy. That detail made her own elbow sting, which reminded her this was real, not one of her books. A body. A real body. Until recently, a real person. A real person wearing pants nobody would want to die in. What did you do when you found a real body? What did Jean Denier do and the people around her do when the murder came calling? Zena dug her phone from her pocket and was relieved to see 1 bar of reception. It disappeared when she lifted the phone to her ear, then reappeared when she peeked away to see if the call wasn't why it wasn't going through. She walked a few feet onto the driveway rock and was rewarded with a more stable signal. The woman who answered had clearly been sleeping. A yawn came through her before her. 911. Is this an emergency? Medical, fire, or police? I found a dead body. The woman swore and the line faded. Zena shifted to the left and the voice came back. Sorry, that was unprofessional. Are you sure they're dead? Yes, no pulse, I checked. And are you safe yourself? I think so. I have no idea, actually. Zena looked around. What could have scared him badly enough to send him running from his house without putting on his shoes, especially with those delicate little tootsies of his? She hadn't even considered that she might be in danger. Somehow she felt oddly calm, though. He looks like he hit his head. The woman on the line said something unintelligible. I thought it's fine, Sarah. And Zena moved closer to the SUV, trying to find the signal. There were animal tracks across the hood. She stared at them as she triangulated reception. The operator returned. Ma'am, I asked what your name is. Susanna Gregory. Calm but flustered enough to almost give her pen name. And where are you? Well, that one was tricky too, wasn't it? Gosh, I hate to say it, but I have no idea what road this is, and there's no house number. I'm staying in a cabin. I just arrived yesterday, and my assistant drove and made the arrangements. Oh, geez. Can you use my cell phone location if I turn it on? Well, that'll take a few minutes, and it'll only tell me which cell tower your call's routed through. Is the body at your cabin? No, I took a walk. I think it's the guy who rents the cabins, if that helps, outside his house. Rustic Mountains Cabins .biz by any chance? Yes. Does the deceased have a gray-brown hair, wavy, longish? She leaned over to look at him again. Yeah, he does. Gary Carpenter. You're on McKierney Road. Do you feel safe staying there until I send someone? Yeah. Great. Don't touch anything, and somebody will be up there in 30 or 40 minutes. Can I get your phone number? Xana recited her number and promised to call back if the situation changed. While she still had one bar, she rang Shar. Unlike the 911 lady, Shar was instantly awake. I thought you didn't have reception, Xana. Shar, I didn't. Or power. The whole cabin shorted out this morning when I tried to make coffee, so I tried flipping the breaker, only it was a blowing fuse, and there was no spare, so I walked down the mountain. You didn't. I did. I can be resourceful, you know. I didn't always have you in my life. But listen, that's not why I'm calling, Shar. I'm calling because I got to the guy's house where you got the keys, and he's here, but he's dead. I don't want you to get nervous if you got to the cabin and I wasn't there. I left a note, but dead? Then I probably should have stopped it dead longer. Yeah? Dead how? Well, it looks like he hit his head. There's a lot of blood. An accident? Well, yeah, it looks like. Good. Well, not good. I mean, you know what I mean. Better than some of the other options. Listen, Xana, I'm going to come get you. 911 lady said for me to wait here. That's fine. I'll come and wait with you. No need for you to walk all the way back up. Shar really was a great assistant. Xana thanked her and disconnected. Now, in Xana's books, Jean Denier would start investigating further, walk into the foyer, poke around the house now while emergency services were still far away. In real life, that seemed stupid. She didn't want her footprints added to whatever was in the house. No sense making it harder for the real detectives. She sat on the porch and leaned her head against the railing. She would have said she slept well, but tiredness overtook her. Still too early, no caffeine in her system. She closed her eyes. She opened them again when she heard the vehicle on the road. The rental pulled in far to the left to skirt the driveway rock, and Shar emerged with a paper bag and a coffee. Oh, bless you, Shar, Xana said. I don't need blessings, Xana. Give me your backpack to toss in the car so they don't start thinking it's evidence. Eat the muffin over the bag so you don't get crumbs on their crime scene. It's blueberry. They didn't have chocolate chip. Also, I need you to stay put when you say you're going to stay put. There was no power or coffee. You wanted me to sit there for 4 hours doing nothing? No, it's just now you're going to get stuck giving a statement and maybe be considered a suspect, and you don't need things distracting you from your deadline. A suspect? Shar nodded in the direction of the body. You found him. You write detective books. Isn't the person who found a dead body usually one of the people who has to be ruled out? You had opportunity. But no motive. Well, except lack of coffee. That hardly seems worth killing someone over. You're not going to joke about it when they ask you questions, right? Right, Shar. And you haven't gone poking around by the body or inside the open door? I'd never, Xana said, like the thought had not occurred to her. Okay, maybe not I'd never, but I swear I didn't. I went to the door, that's all. Shar raised one eyebrow. I believe you, Xan, but just when you watch them do their job, try not to make your interest look too prurient, all right? They sat on the porch steps. Xana, sipping a coffee, made the way she liked it, 2 sugars, 1 cream. A little cool, maybe, from the 20-minute drive up the mountain, but still completely drinkable. A blue and gold tourist with an enormous antenna pulled into the drive, blocking Shar's rental car in. 2 cops got out, both white men, young. The tall blonde one had stubble dusting his cheeks, and his uniform looked slept in. The dark-haired one's uniform was impeccably pressed, his shaved straight razor close. I'm Officer Dixon. This is Officer Fisher. And you are? Xana gave her name without stumbling over it this time and let Shar introduce herself. And which you ladies found the body? I did, officer. Shar just arrived a couple minutes ago to give me a ride back up the mountain when we're done talking. Xana pointed in the direction of the vehicle. The 2 policemen, state they must be beyond the bounds of the town at the bottom of the mountain, walked over to take a look, taking the long way around the SUV before disappearing behind it to her annoyance. She thought about the SUV. They faced the cabin, and he was on the passenger side. She hadn't seen any keys in his hand, and his pants didn't have pockets, so he hadn't been trying to drive away, maybe to get something from the car. She looked over to see that it was unlocked, or the driver's side was anyway. This might be country enough that people didn't bother to lock, but if that was the case, why not go in through the near side? She was back to him being frightened of something and trying to put the car between himself and who or what? An animal? Whatever ran across the hood? A nightmare? Maybe he was a sleepwalker or a vivid dreamer. Maybe some medication messed him up, or at least a legal drug like meth or some hallucinogen. One of the policemen, Dixon, went back to the car. Wish you could see him on the radio, but frustratingly couldn't hear the call. Fisher had a camera out and was taking pictures of the body. Xana sipped her coffee and tried not to look too interested as ordered. What was the proper amount of interest? Concern with a dash of when can I get back to my work seemed about right. Dixon walked back over to the house. Okay, obviously you're right. He's dead. So I called it in. We'll have to wait for the examiner to make it official. Can I get your statement and send you on your way? How'd you come to find the body? Zen explained about the coffee and the microwave and the fuse and walking down the mountain. That's what, 2 miles? I think so. Shar interrupted. The directions he gave me said 1.8 miles past his house, if that helps. Thank you, said Officer Dixon. And what time did you arrive here? 7:33. I remember looking at my phone and debating if it was too early. And then? And then I walked to the door. It was open, door and screen. I knocked on the frame, and I called inside, but nobody answered me. And you did not go inside? No, I didn't. Xana gave Shar a pointed look. Did you touch anything? Only the body to feel for a pulse. Oh, sorry. Let me get this in order again. You knocked and called inside. Nobody answered, and I turned around, and then I saw his foot sticking out beside the car. And you walked directly over? Yes. Do you need my shoe print? I don't think so. That loose gravel isn't going to tell much. What about to prove I wasn't in the house? Which you weren't. No. Nah. You can tell me your shoe size or something if you want, but I don't think the footprints are going to tell us much. He slipped in the dark, nothing else to tell. Well, other than that one spot, right? Xana couldn't resist. Shar glared at her. Huh? What spot? She pointed a few feet in front of the body. There's a spot where the gravel's been dug away, like he was running and slipped, which makes sense with a torn knee, but then the more chaotic path is where he fell, like he spun around and his feet slipped out from under him, but he fell backward when he died, not forward. He had to have fallen twice. Right. Other than that, I mean, I guess you had time to look around while you waited for us. I guess. She bit her tongue to keep from making any other observations. Anything else you noticed then? Shar shifted on the stair. A slight movement allowed her to dig an elbow into Xana's arm. Nothing else, officer. Okay, then. I'll take your phone number and address where you're staying, and you'll be on your way. Why don't you take my number instead? Shar said. You won't be able to reach her up the road, and I can always go find her. Dixon took both numbers, then walked them to their car. Other than that one spot, right? Shar mimicked as they waited for the officer to move his car out of the driveway. You just couldn't resist, Zan. He wasn't doing his job, Shar. He thinks the guy slipped and hit his head. Firstly, he's highway patrol, not a detective. Secondly, he doesn't need to tell you, random lady who found the body, everything that he's noticed. Thirdly, the guy slipped and hit his head. There are no other footprints. Case closed. Case closed? How can the case be closed before somebody looks inside to see whether there's any hint of what scared him? Shar started to reverse, then slammed on the brakes. Dang, I forgot about that giant rock. If I back over it, we'll leave the tailpipe behind. No, pull forward. You can't turn around here. How would you know? You can't drive. I'm familiar with the spatial laws of the universe. You're going to have to do a 99-point turn if you do it here. Just pull into the clearing so you have more space. Xana licked a drop of coffee off her hand. Spatial laws of the universe, Shar muttered, commencing a 90-point turn. And why are you so sure he was scared anyhow? She continued, as if there hadn't been a pause in their conversation. Maybe he just needed something from his car and he slipped. Xana considered. Still kind of weird to need something in such a hurry you don't bother to put your shoes on, or a shirt on a night like that it was chilly like that, and to leave the screen swinging open. He looked like a fastidious guy, with delicate feet. Oh, a nightmare then, or some personal demon. A guy with a backward breathe tattoo has something dark he's getting past. Sure, a nightmare, except Xana turned her coffee up in her hands. Except what? I don't think they noticed the other print either. What other print? On the hood, the one you elbowed me before I could say. He must have just washed the car because it was otherwise spotless, which is impressive given these roads, but there were tracks across the hood. Tracks? What, like footprints? Animal tracks. Something that ran through the flower beds and then across the hood of the car. She dug a marker from her backpack and drew on her coffee cup. Like 2 lines of feet with a tail dragging between them. Across the hood, driver's side near the headlight to the passenger side mirror. She glanced over. Okay, so a lizard or a raccoon or something ran over the car. Big deal. And trampled grass on his other side. Xana, you didn't know the guy. You're not a real detective. You have a very real deadline, though, and you've lost hours of your day already. Let the police do their job. Hours. Shar, turn around. We still need to get a stupid fuse. Shar reached into her purse and fished out a plastic bag without looking down. How did you know which size to get? Well, I didn't, but I just got all of them. And there's a whole bunch of different ones. I can return the ones that are wrong. Huh. Thank you, best assistant ever. You think of everything. You deserve a bonus. Yes, thank you, best assistant ever. You think of everything. If I actually finish this book and get paid, you're totally getting a bonus, Shar. They arrived back at the cabin. Shar, the best assistant ever, unplugged the coffee maker and the microwave, brandished a small flashlight with a price tag still at the base, and headed into the bowels of the cabin to replace the fuse. Xana sat at her writing table. She heard the crawlspace door creak open, and then the shutter of the fridge when the main power cut off. She went to the kitchen and rummaged through a knife drawer until she found one that looked sharper than the others, then returned with it to her workspace, not for any reason she could fully express even to herself. She looked out the window, up the mountain window with its prism-colored trees. She pulled West Virginia wildlife from her research crate, its cheesy 70s cover portraying a cougar, a bear, a coyote, a buck, and something that might have been an otter in the same riverside tableau, and opened to the reptile chapter. Aha! Came from under the floorboards. A minute later, the lamp came back on. The fridge gurgled. Did that work? Yeah, Xana called down. Shar returned a moment later, running a hand through her hair for invisible cobwebs. Okay, so maybe stick to coffee or microwave tomorrow. Do you want me to make you lunch? That's kind of like, stream or voice, one or the other. No, don't make me lunch. I want to get some writing done first. Only what? Only there are 4 skinks and 2 lizards native to this area, and none of their tracks match the tracks I saw. Shar looked over at Xana's reading material. Well, maybe they discovered another one since 1975. Yeah, maybe. Any other mysteries I can solve so you can get back to your writing? Xana hesitated. She wasn't sure if she really wanted the answer to this one. Shar, you mentioned the guy's tattoo. Uh-huh. Shar, when did you see it? You got out of the car, you came straight over to me with the coffee. You couldn't ever have seen more than his foot from where we were. Oh, the day before, when we stopped for the keys. He was wearing a zip jacket when he opened the door. Shar crossed the room and settled on the couch. So what, Xana? You think I'm a suspect? Or your lizard is? I have no idea what to think, Shar. These are things I noticed. They don't make sense. Xana, that's the problem with real life. It's too messy for fiction, too weird. All those mysteries solved by a single hair found in the drain fiction or a single tire track. You go out of your mind trying to solve a real mystery. Not that there's a mystery here. Just drop it, all right? Unless there's something else. You never asked, whispered Xana. What did you say? Shar, you never asked where the body was. You came and you sat next to me. It would have made sense for you to assume the body was inside the house, but you never asked. You nodded in his direction, even though he wasn't visible from that side. You must have said it on the phone to me, Xana. Shar, I didn't. I know I didn't. You had to have been there earlier. You had to have seen the body or something. What the heck, Shar? They stared at each other. How long had Shar been her assistant now? Her best ever assistant in the whole wide world. Xana couldn't remember, which was weird in itself, actually. Maybe I should take a walk down the mountain again. I'll bet those cops are still there. I can tell them what I found. What, a lizard that doesn't exist? An assistant who's lying to me. Xana stood. She held the kitchen knife by her side, not knowing what to do with it. Look, Zan, what if I told you that you really, truly don't want to know the answer to your questions? I've taken care of everything you've needed for 22 years, Xana. I think I've earned the right to ask you to trust me. 22 years. Xana chewed on her lip, thinking, I'd say I trust you if you flat out say you didn't murder him, but either way, you know what happened and you're lying to me. You've earned the right to ask me to trust you, but I don't know if I can when I can see you're not being completely honest. Char lay back on the couch with the pillow over her head. Just once, Xana. Just once in all these years, I'd like you to say, I trust you completely. What are you talking about? I've always trusted you, Char. You know my bank account. You have my credit card. The pillow lifted. Yeah, Xana, you say that every time too. But when it comes to, if I say don't poke at the body, you always do. And we skipped the knife thing, all right? You weren't going to use it. Xana looked down. The knife looked oddly familiar in her hand, like she had written this scene. She had 1,000 questions, didn't even know which one to ask. She tried to keep the panic out of her voice. How are always and don't poke at the body in the same sentence, Char? When has this ever happened before? Char propped herself on her elbow. Tell me about writing your last book, Xana. The Mosquito Land murders? We flew into Minneapolis. We rented an old house in the woods a few hours away. The actual writing, Xana. Do you remember anything of the time we spent there? Xana considered. She shook her head. No, I never remember the big drafting binges. It's a shame. We pick these beautiful places and it all passes in a blur. Okay, so how about your first book? Do you remember your first book? Oh, of course, Campsite 49. Not the first book you sold, the first book you wrote. Oh, it was horror, I guess. Dark fantasy, something like that. The blur in the corner of your eye. There was a creature. Do you remember anything else? Char, I was only 10. The creature laid eggs in people or something. And why did it get rejected? They said it didn't ring true as fiction, too messy and weird, derivative. I never figured out how to fix it. And then I wrote Campsite 49. Now I'm a mystery writer instead of a horror writer. What are all these questions? One more. What did you eat for dinner last night? I don't know. I guess I was caught up in my writing. I'm pretty sure I ate something. Salad. You had a salad. How far did you get in the book yesterday? That seemed to Xana like something she should remember, but she didn't. Fine, Char. What's the point of all this? Xana, I'm going to tell you something, and you're not going to believe me. You never do. I thought we did that already at the start of this conversation. We did, but this is something else. Char paused. There's this thing. Like in the blur in the corner of your eye, okay? A thing? A creature, Xana. Let's say those prints you found belong to something that only it isn't in your book because it isn't native to this area. It hitches a ride. Hitches a ride? Yeah, can you stop repeating me for a sec? You'll get it, I promise. So there's this thing, and like you said, it lays eggs. It does it while the person's asleep, and then the eggs incubate, and the first one that hatches eats the other eggs. And then it eats through the person and runs away into the world. I know, I wrote this book, remember? No, you wrote it wrong, Xana. It does not eat through the person. It hides inside their body, dormant, until it has to lay its own eggs. How could I write my own book wrong, Char? I don't know. You forgot. You always forget. I still don't get what you want me to do with this story. I don't write horror anymore. Why don't you write it? It's not a story, Xana. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Did you wake up with a sore throat this morning? Your lungs sore, though you don't remember coughing? Xana shrugged. It had only been a few hours, but it felt like ages ago. Oh, Xana, I hate when you make me do this the hard way. You always make me do it the hard way. Char reached into her bag and pulled out a baggie of brown powder. Here, put a pinch of this on your tongue. Xana turned her head away. Oh, come on, smell it. It's cumin. I hate cumin. Yeah, you two have that in common. Come on, I need you to do this. A small pinch. Xana didn't say a way out of it, since she was stuck in the room with someone whose reasonable tone belied the deeply weird things she was saying. She swallowed a pinch of cumin, then coughed. A second later, the coughing grew deeper, like the powder had gotten into her lungs, and then something stranger, like claws inside her chest. She gagged and heaved something up. It helped itself along the way, tearing at her teeth and gums even as she opened her mouth. The thing that skittered out of her was not a lizard or a skink. It had too many legs, and the middle track had not been a tail. It was a long face with a proboscis that touched the ground, and it had no eyes and too much skin, slimy, black, loose. It was so fast, just a blur. It skittered under the couch, and Xana remembered the sound from the middle of the night. Her mind started to lose both that memory and the memory of what the thing looked like, even as it disappeared from her view. What the heck? The words hurt. You never believe me until I show you. She held the knife out to Shar. Kill it! Shar waved her off. Oh, trust me. Oh, trust me, Xana. We've both tried that. Burning, shooting, stabbing, drowning. It has a very strong will to live. What was it doing inside of me? It lives there. You're its host. I don't think it actually does you any harm. Xana ran her tongue around her sore mouth, and Shar amended. Well, it doesn't normally do you any harm. I think it anesthetizes you when it's not in a hurry, when you don't swallow a mouthful of cumin. Anesthetizes? Yeah, so you relax and you don't remember it leaving or coming back. You never remember these trips at all. When you read your drafts back home, you always say, wow, I must have been in the zone. I don't remember writing any of this. Xana nodded. She knew she had to ask the hard question, too. So, your part in this? I do what I've always done. Since we were kids, and we got stuck in the crawl space under my daddy's house, and it chose you. It chose you. It got way easier when I convinced you to hire me, find some place remote for you to ride a couple of times a year when you start showing signs, powder myself with cumin, try to make the closest person someone who won't be, well, too missed if something goes wrong, like this time. Try to keep you away from the body, which is sometimes easy and sometimes a disaster, like today. Xana again had more questions than she could possibly voice. It was true. She did have lapses, but only when she was writing. Her process had always been weird like that, and 2 books a year had never felt difficult. She remembered everything in between books, or well, at least she thought she did. She again fixated on Shar's language instead of the harder questions. What do you mean if something goes wrong? That same secretion? They're dozy when I get to them. I can usually scrape the eggs out of their mouths, and they never even know anything happened. Only sometimes something goes wrong. It gives some of them nightmares, or maybe they see it, I don't know, and they fall down the stairs, or they attack it, or they attack someone else, or like this guy, they run out of the house and hit their head, and I still have to scrape the eggs out so the medical examiner doesn't find anything. Why don't you just let them discover the eggs, or tell someone, a doctor, a biologist? Oh, Char looked horrified. They'd never let you go, Xana. They'd have to lock you up to keep it from getting to anyone. They'd figure out the same thing I have about it surviving everything we tried to do to it. You've got contracts, books to write, or they'd keep me for having covered it up, and you wouldn't have me to protect you anymore. That all made a certain amount of sense, even if it was horrible. Char could be wrong, of course, but she was usually right. How often does it go wrong? Maybe 1 in 5, but they never connect you, or me. But that's why we never go back to the same place twice. Yeah, somebody would get suspicious sooner or later, don't you think? But you believe me now? Yes, Char, I believe you. Are you sure you shouldn't kill me? Oh, I wouldn't. Never, Xana. But you've let all those other people die, 1 in 5? The eggs have never once survived. The one in you is the only one, as far as I know. Well, and whichever one laid an egg in you to begin with. I guess there must be others. I didn't mean to let anyone die, but it's better than the alternative. The alternative? Think about it, Xana. Letting any of those eggs live or letting you kill yourself. You've suggested that a few times. What if it survived? How would I find it again to try to keep people safe? You can't do it. The thought had crossed Xana's mind. Well, then what happens now? Well, I'm not going to let that thing crawl its way back down my throat. You will. You'll fall asleep tonight. It'll find its way back. It always does. Then you'll wake up in the morning and you won't remember any of this. You'll draft your book and we'll go back to the city and you'll read your draft. You'll tell me you must have been in the zone, and then you come up with your next book. The plot will hinge on some guy who ran out of his house with no shoes, and you'll research it and I'll find some place remote for you to write it, rinse and repeat. They're both silent for a moment. Xana had a question she didn't want to ask, but asked anyway. Does it help me somehow? Is this a deal like I can't write without it? That it helps my creativity? Not as far as I know. It might inspire some of your plots, okay, most of them, but I can't see any reason for the rest. Your work ethic and your prose are all yours, I'm sure. Well, it's something at least, Xana said. That would be one ugly muse. They were silent again. After a minute, Xana spoke again, the only thing left to say. Dang. Yeah. Shar? Yeah? You really are the best assistant. You deserve a raise. Yeah, you say that every time, too. What if I write it down? Note to self, give Shar a raise. Shar cocked her head. I don't think you've ever done that before. It's worth a shot if you mean it. I really and sincerely mean it. Xana opened her computer and created a reminder for herself, a reminder that would chime in at her 1 month's time, in which she'd open up and look in total surprise and have no memory of writing. Then she'd nod in agreement, even if she couldn't remember what exactly had prompted her to set the alert, or why the second line said believe her, and she'd make it happen. Because she really would hate to lose an assistant as good as Shar. So that's The Blur in the Corner of Your Eye by Sarah Pinsker.